The regular meeting and roll call, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Here.
Councilmember Perkins,
Here.
Councilmember Rubio,
Here.
Vice Mayor Veros,
Here.
and Mayor Hudson.
Here. Please stand and join me and our city manager doing the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You didn't think you were going to get away completely. I didn't. Okay, announcements 3.1. Are there any changes and additions to the agenda?
There are none this evening.
Okay, thank you. 3.2, if you wish to speak under public comment or regarding an item, please fill out a speaker card located in the back of the room and submit it to the city clerk. If you are participating remotely, click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak when public comment is being taken on the agenda. Understand we have a speaker card for that?
We do have one speaker card for this item, Taiwanese American public
Okay.
speaker.
Please take a minute.
So I would like to settle something that I hope can be respected by my city councils to me as a public speaker, because I have gotten a steak knife outside of my garage because a council member keeps calling me by a name that is not on the speaker card. I just want to make it public that the public speaker card I put in today is Taiwanese American public speaker. Any other name that is called of me is wrong and disrespectful. Perhaps even racist. I have one more thing. Also, regarding pulling consent agenda, by law, we have the right to comment, and it is not your right to curtail the time that we can comment. Right now, you're forcing us to pull consent agenda under public comment, which is only 3 minutes. If we have more than one agenda item, we usually can be afforded 6 minutes for each item, but now you're forcing us to condense everything into 3 minutes, and that should be unlawful.
Thank you. I'll address your comments later. 3.3. Boards and committee and commission meetings, a complete list of upcoming meetings may be found at the city council website, city website, www.sanramon.ca.gov. Subscription service is available at the link for automatic meeting notification. Contact the city clerk with questions 925-973. I want to make sure everybody gets this 2539. They're all going to call you, Christina. Next item is public comment. At this time, the public is permitted to address the city council on items that are on the consent calendar, including a request to pull an item from the consent calendar and the reason why you wish to pull the item or items. Please note that the decision to remove the item from the consent calendar is strictly at the discretion of the city council. You may also make requests for future agenda items. Normally, we would do special presentations if you want to comment it under public comment. Tonight, we're going to ask that you do it during item 6. Also, items that are not on the agenda and are within the city council jurisdiction, you would be asking to deal with them in public comment. So, public comment is open. Do we have any cards to speak on public comment?
We do. We've received 2 cards. The first speaker is Walker Tippett.
Hi, Walker. Where are you at?
Hello, Council. Congratulations on your recent election victories. My name is Walker. I've lived in San Ramon for 20 years. I attended several of these sessions last summer to implore this council to outlaw abortion in our city, and would like to reiterate the importance of such legislation to all of our city's newest public servants. I know that this issue feels overtly political, and it is therefore tempting to avoid it in exchange for less unpleasant ones. You may want to prioritize topics that receive more direct attention from our city's residents. You could certainly be forgiven for not wanting to contribute to the hostility that currently defines our nation's political order. You may feel like you're unqualified to make a judgment on this issue because you're not aware of all the social, biological, economic, and judicial factors relevant to the abortion debate. It may not feel like an issue for San Ramon because we're not conducting invasive abortion procedures with surgical instruments. But we do have a Planned Parenthood in operation prescribing mifepristone and misoprostol up to nearly 3 months past conception. These are poison pills for the baby in the womb that can be taken in the comfort of your own home. Outlawing abortion in San Ramon, California may not feel like a feasible endeavor because of Prop 1. However, the Supremacy Clause in Article 6 of the Constitution stipulates that state laws must respect rights recognized in the U.S. Constitution. This includes our 14th Amendment, which recognizes every person's right to life, something Prop 1 completely disregards. We can outlaw abortion now, despite Prop 1, for the same reason that 48 other U.S. cities could outlaw abortion prior to the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Any local, state, or federal ruling that ignores this God-given right to life possesses no legal legitimacy. But far more important than unpacking these secondary factors is answering the fundamental moral questions upon which the whole abortion debate rests. What is murder? If murder is the taking of human life, then what is a human life? Is murder ever acceptable? But our society knows the answers to all these questions already. We're just unwilling to do anything about it. Now, the common response to my entire argument is that it's imposing my beliefs on others, and I'll be the first person to admit that it's not my opinion that matters. It's God's. What is his stance? He tells us in a verse that I've shared with this council before, from Psalm 139. For you, God, did form my inward parts. You did knit me together in my mother's womb. Life begins at conception. A person's a person, no matter how small, and the smallest, most vulnerable people in our city need your help. Please heed this call and seek to pass legislation that recognizes their dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, Walker. Next.
The next speaker is Taiwanese American public speaker.
Council members, I would like to publicly address you that it was a disappointment that your third meeting that was scheduled for selecting the interim city manager wasn't notified of the public. I usually receive any meeting notices, regular or special, via East San Ramon. But the one that you had on December 27th, which I didn't know existed until Councilmember Perkins emailed me and told me about that, had I known that you guys had gone ahead with a third meeting, which was a shame. What is there to hide for selecting a wonderful manager, deputy manager, to be our interim manager? What is there to hide? By doing so, you're actually really shaming Mr. Spadowski when the citizens have repeatedly shown up on the first and second meetings to see what if you guys are going to select the best possible and available and competent candidate. But you guys deprived the public of all the rights to know by not sending proper notification of the meeting for December 27th. I don't know if it was because it's a holiday, a clerk error, a system error. It is unbecoming. So please don't do it again. So the public have a chance to properly understand who is going to be governing their city. Furthermore, thank you for not mixing special presentation under non-agendized item for special presentation. It was quite confusing for you to honor Councilmember Zafar under public comment last time. I'm glad that this time you're properly honoring our city manager by not mixing him under public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any raised hands or star 9?
We do have one hand raised on Zoom, Mary Lou Oliver.
Yes, Mary Lou. And Mary Lou, you're not here before you speak. If you wish to speak under item 6, normally we do it under public comment. You can reserve and come back under item 6. We're going to open that up to public.
Thank you. Well, I'm
please.
ready to speak.
Right now. You can, you're ready to go.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Mary Lou Oliver. I was one of the incorporators of our city and was elected to the first city council. I served on the city council for 12 years, but I wanted to talk to you tonight a little bit about the future of San Ramon in light of the past. When we moved here 53 years ago, San Ramon was a bifurcated, unincorporated community with houses in a strip mall on the south and a new subdivision on the north with model homes near Crow Canyon Road and a few residents. There was grading and building in progress with nothing in between but fields and orchards. 680 was 3 years old with very little traffic. Bollinger Canyon Road did not exist. Crow Canyon Road did not exist east of 680. El Costa Boulevard was a short street on the Dublin border, and there was no Bishop Ranch. Doherty Valley was all grain fields and pastures, and there was no local government. Contra Costa County controlled all development and services, and residents were upset with the lack of amenities and services planned for San Ramon by the county. Change and growth seemed to be uncontrolled. By 1980, both Dublin and Danville were considering incorporation, and leaders from the south end of San Ramon and the north end of San Ramon banded together, forgot their differences, and 14 of us in 1981 began to form a city of San Ramon. I was one of those 14. It was an intense time. San Ramon's incorporation came to a vote 40 years ago this March. It had the highest positive vote in the history of a California incorporation. 75% or more of the voters favored incorporation. There were 18 candidates, 5 were elected to serve the city. The future of San Ramon is on your shoulders now. What will San Ramon look like in another 40 years? Will you be proud of the contributions you have made? Will you maintain a long-term vision for our city? Congratulations on your elections, Mark and Dave, and a special welcome to Marisol. I'm sure you will come up to speed quickly, and congratulations on your election. The future is yours, Council. Treat it well. And in my last few seconds, I will say thank you, Joe, for a terrific job.
Thank you, Mary Lou. I would just say that if you want your campaign signs back, just give me a call. Mary Lou Oliver was our longest standing city council member until Scott and I messed it up for her, but that's another thing. I think she just did an excellent job of telling us about the history. Public comment is closed. You didn't say any star nines, correct? Just that was it. While we encourage your comments, unfortunately, state law prevents the city council from discussing items that are not on their meeting agenda. We do take them seriously, though. We may follow up with a comment or two at the end. Consent calendar items. 5 items are considered routine or acted upon by the city council with a single action. Members of the audience wishing to provide public input may request so by mail. Did we receive any request to pull in? Okay. Okay, which items are they? 5.15 and 5.16. What a lead in. Okay.
They've been addressed under 4.
Yes. Let me get to first of all, on 515, see where it goes. 2 sections of 515 is the item on the increase in salary for the city council. There are 2 sections of the San Ramon Municipal Code that dictate the process for setting the salary for the mayor and council member for the city of San Ramon. Specifically, section A4-3J states that the city council salary shall be increased by 5% every other year on December 1st. That's every other year, 5% after 2 years on December 1st, following the municipal election at which council members are elected. And section 4A2A states that the mayor shall be compensated at the rate of $100 more per month than the compensation set forth by the council members. In accordance with the San Ramon Municipal Code, same ones I just told you, the increase of 5% shall be implemented effective December 1st, 2022. With the 5% increase, the new monthly salary for council members will be $1,034.23 a month, and the new monthly salary for the mayor will be $1,134.23 effective December 1st, 2022. For item 5.16, at the December 27th, 2022 special city council meeting, the city council met in closed session to select the appointment of an interim city manager. The city council voted unanimously to appoint Stephen Spadowski as the interim city manager. The interim city manager will be compensated at the rate of $18,215 per month and will receive monthly management incentive pay at the department head rate of $500, as well as the standard benefits provided to all the city's department heads. Mr. Spadowski will also receive an additional 5% compensation, $910.75 per month in acknowledgement of his service during his term as interim city manager. And while I'm at it, let me make the correction on 5.4. There is also an announcement under 5.4. The minutes for the 27th special meeting have been amended to reflect that council member Rubio was present at the meeting, not former council member Safar. Now, there has been a request to speak under 5.15 and 5.16. Does anybody wish to pull those items and see what they have to? They might want to give us more, Scott.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry then. There's no council member wish to pull it. I know Mark contemplated it.
I'll move consent items 5.1 through 5.16.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please. Oh, you guys,
He moved. I
Okay.
seconded.
Oh.
and it's 5 out of 5 votes to approve it. I just make a suggestion of the people that want to speak. If they do want to speak, there's a second public comment. I believe we still have it on the agenda later in the evening. Now we're on to the highlight of the evening. There will be no more city manager comments after today. We are recognizing our city manager, Joe Gorton, upon his retirement. There he is, right over there. Let's start off. We have some comments, if I can, before I open the public comment from the office of Assembly Member Rebecca Bauer Cahan, who's coming up here with all kinds of whereases and wherefores and all that good stuff. Okay. Is she going to then get on the screen, or is it just you solo tonight?
It's me.
Thank
It's
you.
me. Esteemed mayor and council members, thank you so much for this opportunity to address you and the city of San Ramon. Thank you for your service. My name is Marilyn Lucy, and I am here on behalf of Assembly Member Rebecca Bauer Cahan to congratulate Mr. Joseph Gorton on his retirement and to present this legislative resolution to honor your work to help make the city of San Ramon a thriving community. May I present this to
Yes,
him?
please. We don't have a table for you, Joe. I'm sorry. Thank you. And we have a presentation from Supervisor Candace Anderson's office, I believe. Is Candace here? I don't know. It's a long way over from Danville. She might have a little problem getting here. Okay, we're going to move on. Let's save the comments from the mayor and the council members to after public comment. We'll open up public comment on this. We have some cards, I assume.
We do have some cards from the public.
Okay,
Eric Wallace.
Eric, please come forth.
Always wanted to do that. Mayor and council members and council member Rubio, it's nice to meet you in person finally. Hopefully we'll get to see each other a little more often than that. I first met Joe Gorton when he worked for the police department, which commandeered on 2 different occasions my garage as a SWAT operations center to deal with a miscreant up the street. By the way, this led to Council Member Perkins teasing me for years about living in such a rough neighborhood. The first time this happened, I realized it when I was cleaning the rain gutters out on my roof. Now that's in the old days when we actually had normal rain. And I saw all these guys running around with flak jackets and AR-15s. Now, I was a little naive at this time, but this was pre-Proud Boys, and I assumed they were the police. And it turns out they were. So they used my garage as a staging area to deal with the person up the street. Fortunately, there was no physical violence or anything and went away. Well, a couple of years later, the same person caused a problem, but this time was a little bit bigger. They blockaded my street And in the middle of the process, they brought in the county Bearcat, which looks like a Bradley armored personnel carrier to deal with the person up the street. And it was serious enough, so not only did they commandeer my garage, they basically lived in there all afternoon and well into the evening. In fact, my wife for years kept the rules of engagement that the police had posted all over our garage as a souvenir. The pizza boxes did not quite last that long. Now, Joe eventually left the police department to become city manager, and over the years, it's not as much fun as being police chief and catching bad guys. But the upside is that it was a lot more beneficial for the city of San Ramon. It's really not all apparent to most people in the public what staff for the city does, because it's always done off camera and most of the time behind the scenes. But this is where the real work gets done by staff and the city council to make our city a better place. And you don't have to look very far to see all the work that staff and Joe did to make this a better place. You're sitting in it right now. And if you look around all the advancements and the improvements that have been made to our city now and will take place in the near future, that's sort of a testament to the work Joe's done over the years. A lot of things have taken place in San Ramon to make this a better place for everyone to live in. And Joe was involved in most of those. And for that, we, the citizens of San Ramon, owe him a great deal of gratitude. Now, while Joe is leaving the city in Steve's capable hands, I, for one, will miss him. And my wife and I send Joe and his family our best wishes for your future.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Eric. Yeah, there goes my speech. Thanks, Eric. Okay, who's next?
Taiwanese American public speaker.
City Manager Gordon, it is very, very sad to know that you're retiring, because I think it is truly a gift that God has given us, that you were our city manager. You had managed through extremely turmoil times, not only in our city, but in our society and in our country. You managed through when there was political upheaval, BLM riots. You managed through a worldwide pandemic, a shutdown, which we have never been through. And you have managed through a tremendous, diverse trend of immigration in our city. And you have managed everything so seamlessly that most people probably don't feel it if they don't watch news. That's how good you are. But that doesn't matter. I want to thank you from a personal perspective, and let me share with you the two things that really impress me about you. Living in Doherty Valley sometimes makes me feel like I'm a second-class citizen in the city, because when we first moved here, we were not annexed yet. Even though our address was San Ramon, a lot of our services were still coming from the county. However, because of your leadership, the city really treats us whenever we call in for any services, any inquiries. Your public works department really puts us first. And we see anything that is taken care of, such as, light outs or down trees or whatever that I see and I put in a call, they took care of it. And I believe that that's leadership. So I want to thank you that under your leadership, you did not treat my district different from Councilmember Perkins' district. Furthermore, I want to let you know that you are like a Jesus leadership to me. One time I was at a public meeting, and for some reason, the executive clerk took a negative impression of me, or whatever problem that she had that day. She was unwilling to copy me the agenda that I'm entitled to as a public speaker. You picked up the agenda, you walked inside, you made a copy for me. That day, I felt like I had an encounter with Jesus because you wash people's feet. You did not tell your clerk, go do this for her. You did not tell me, don't offend my clerk, you inferior citizen. You walked in, you copied it for me, therefore preserving the dignity of me as a public attendee, as well as your clerk, who may be having EMS that day. So in any case, I want to honor you for serving me that day. I will never forget. Thank you so much, and may God bless you in your retirement years. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
That was the last comment card, and we currently do not have any hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, we'll close the public comment. It is now before the council. Go ahead, Scott. No, they're gonna chime in. They got a special time coming up on 10-1. Then they bring in donuts, but go ahead.
Wow.
You knew it was coming.
It's gonna be really hard to say goodbye to Joe, because I think he really did a fabulous job as city manager, and who knew, right? If you were to look at a resume of a very accomplished person, but as a police chief, and say, oh, that'll make a great city manager, I don't think a lot of people would view that as a career path that is a prime hunting ground, if you will, for city managers. That's not a normal path. And I can imagine that when you were a young patrol officer out doing the things you do on your beat, you don't say, if I do this right, I can be city manager someday. I suspect that never ever crossed your mind. You may have thought maybe I can be chief of police someday, but being city manager probably didn't cross your mind. But by golly, you did a fabulous job. Absolutely fabulous. And there's lots of things that I admire about you, but one of the best is you take your job seriously. You listen to your staff, you allow them to do their job, but you don't take yourself so seriously that it becomes personal if things aren't quite going on your path, and you are willing to make a little fun of yourself at staff events and city events. And I do appreciate the fact that you have that piece of humor in your person, in your life. But you've done a fabulous job, and who knew that you were going to have to deal with a calamity like COVID-19? I was talking to some of my scouts the other day, and I said, this is something that is the most profound thing that has happened since World War II, because grocery stores closed and restaurants and all kinds of businesses, and you stayed home. And that didn't happen during Vietnam. I mean, it was a very disruptive time, but things like that didn't happen. Haven't happened in this country since World War II. So you managed the city and the staff, and you mobilized staff to support our citizens, and through Meals on Wheels and delivery. And if you need a roll of toilet paper, we'll get you a roll of toilet paper, or if you need masks, we'll get you masks. And you mobilize staff, and from everything I could see and hear, the staff was more than eager to roll in and do those things. And that comes from the leadership. And then there was the George Floyd murder aftermath, and how you managed that in the city, and working with the chief of police to recognize that what a disruptive and horrible event that was, that San Ramon can still support its citizens and provide police services and provide for the police and the public safety. And we managed that in a way that allowed the citizens to speak their minds, and yet we maintained the dignity and the support for our police department. And I do appreciate that. So for all the things you've done for us, we're going to miss you terribly. And it's been a great great time. How many years you've been doing this for us? Has it been 6? Oh, yeah, count police and all the other.
But he
times.
was here before we.
Yeah,
did our
oh
own
gosh.
fire, I believe.
And you were, were you a patrol officer in San Ramon at one time? And then you were a sergeant in San Ramon under the contract. And then you were one of the very first hires for Chief Scott Holder. And helped set up our city police department in 2007. And what a great police department that's been. Is Denton, how many are left from that first group of 2007? 9 left out of those, what, 56 officers, 9 out of 56. And it's just been a real class organization. Your leadership depth has just been superb, and we're in great shape. When people join an organization like our police department, you either conform to the standards and the attitudes and the culture of the police department, or you're in conflict with it. And because of the standards that you and Scott Holder and Dan Pratt and others and Craig Stevens set, we now have set a culture in that department that goes on here 15 years later. And it will likely survive another 15 years or more. So thank you for all you did for the police department and for the city and for the council. You've been a great inspiration to me and the council, I know. Thank you.
Maricel, I'll just ask, do you want to go last or you want to follow that?
I can defer. I'll go last.
Okay, Mark, you're up.
Okay. Well, I had the privilege of introducing Joe at the San Ramon Chamber of Commerce Community Awards dinner. He was our employee of the year and spoke about him. And it was great to see his wife Lori and Josh and Jeremy and a great all-American family. I've gotten to know Joe just on my 2 years on city council so far. We've had, for the most part, weekly meetings. We've missed a few here in the last few weeks, but I think I've gotten to know him pretty well. We've talked about city business. We've talked about family business and personal things. And I think we've shared a lot of perspectives on a lot of different issues. But one thing I really picked up was that you always had the best interests of the city in mind, no matter what the issue was. Sometimes I sense that it might even differ from what maybe your personal opinion was on a certain thing, but you had the city's best interest in mind. And I really respected that. Respected the way you ran the day-to-day operations of the city. You're the guy that really runs the city, that makes things happen. And I think you made it easy for us on city council. As you heard from Councilmember Perkins, you tackled a bunch of tough issues during your time. You saw a lot of infrastructure improvements. You always gave us a balanced budget to deal with. And I really like the way that you nurtured relationships and partnerships, and just the fun, the kind of the back and forth with the fire district was always kind of fun to watch as well. And yes, and the way you led through the pandemic and some of those challenging times was fantastic. And as I mentioned during that Chamber of Commerce event, I really love the way that you gave the department heads the freedom to operate and run their departments. You weren't micromanaging, you weren't getting into the weeds with them, but you were still providing leadership and direction. And through some of the different events that we had, city staff level events and public meetings and things like that, you were always quick to praise the staff for all the great work they do. And they do a lot of great work, and never tried to take credit for yourself for all that the great things that the staff was doing. So I'm really glad that you stayed on as a city manager during those initial years, and you think you did it for like 6 years as city manager. And I just congratulate you on your retirement. not just from the police department, not just from your service with the city of San Ramon, but your 35 years of public service culminating in the last 6 as a city manager. So thanks for training up Stephen. And he's capable in his own right, but I know you had a lot to do to prepare him. And I know that things will be seamless with him at the helm as well. So congratulations. We're really going to miss you, Joe.
Thank you. Sridhar?
Joe, you served our city very well, our community very well. Appreciate your stable leadership for our city throughout your tenure. And I definitely want to add whatever Councilmember Perkins and Councilmember Mark Armstrong mentioned about all the good things that you did. One of the biggest challenges that we as a city, when we faced with the pandemic, you stepped up and you helped each and every resident, every request that came in during that challenging times. And you helped our community to work together and make sure that they are taken care. I definitely appreciate that. And including, once again, with all the good things that they already mentioned, in addition to that, one of the best thing, we are very fortunate to have a city manager who understands the diversity of the community. And you made sure that you listen to each and every dimension of this diversity, because we have so many different dimensions of diversity. You were always there to listen to them, and you always delivered the services to all the residents fairly, without keeping anything with your personal thoughts or whatever it is, but always you are there to help them. That's definitely, we are very fortunate to have a city manager like you. And in addition to that, San Ramon is well known for our safety, right? So we are ranked as the top safety as well as in raising family. We are ranked on top within California. So definitely that is a testimony for your engagement in community services and your commitment to make sure you deliver the best or high quality of life for our residents. So I really appreciate all those things, and also always there to listen to our all kind of requests that we used to make during our meetings, one-on-one meetings. So listening to me for all those tons of things. So thanks. I appreciate once again. I wish you all the best with your retirement. We'll definitely miss you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maricel, I mean, with the vast experience you've had with Joe, do you?
It didn't take that long to get to know Joe. Honestly, I have to echo everything that's been said. I don't know how you did it, but miraculously, I saw all of those values, those characteristics in you very quickly. And as somebody coming in, a new council member, you really knew how to make me feel welcomed and feel at comfort and ease. And I knew that when you said to me, you can call me anytime if you have questions, just not in the sleeping hours of the night. And I said, okay, wow, that's really nice of you. I can only really reaffirm everything that has been said. One of the main reasons I decided to step up was because of this beautiful city that you have helped to shape and form. As was mentioned, Councilmember Veros mentioned, just the safety, the beautiful open spaces, you have truly helped build a beautiful city. And we are very grateful for the quality of life you have provided us. And all I can say is just, thank you for your service and your dedication. And I wish you the best in your retirement. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a couple of comments, if I would. So many times, I think Eric touched on it first. People don't realize how things are getting done. In the middle of this COVID crisis, we remodeled this facility. We are remodeling and working with fire at 2401 to put it together. It didn't happen unless Joe actually, in his inimitable fashion, mentions, we might need to do a CIP. And we had a meeting, we put it together, we voted on it, and we're moving towards making that happen. Maybe the toughest one of all, we've only been waiting 30 years, is the bridge that'll start construction next month over Bollinger Canyon Road. For how many years we've been trying to do that. But those are the kind of things that Joe has accomplished for us, and we're recognizing it. And I hope we'll recognize more in the 10.1 when it comes up with the fire department. But I have a different take on it, in that I don't want to say I'm glad Joe's leaving, but I'm really happy for you. I've watched a lot of people leave here. They left at the right time. They knew. If I have one regret out of all of this, is that I didn't push harder when Bob Sachs needed to go, and our council was saying, no, we need you prior, Scott. And I mean, Bob had very little time left because of that, and we took away from it. So I can't stress it enough, like Karen McNamara and Phil Wong, who we can't get off the golf course now, still can't play with it, darn. But I mean, if you want to take, no, don't. And Herb Moniz, I mean, I'm sure there'll be other endeavors to do, and it's time to go out and enjoy them. How did they say it? You've paid your dues. Now get out there and collect, Joe. So I'll leave it at that. I'm very happy for you. I know what is out there and some of the things that are planned, and I almost envy you in that, because you're going at the right time of the year. But any comments you want to make, or you want to save them for mayor or for manager comments?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll say a couple things, though I do think I'm going to need to potentially reserve some time. Luckily, I'll
You
have
are.
a second bite of the apple at council, city manager comments, just given the fire chief's penchant for exaggerating things. And I got a feeling that may be coming my way. So I do want to reserve a little time, but I would like to thank everybody for all those kind comments. I know you can't really tell by my youthful appearance, but it is 35 years, and it's time to go. And you wouldn't be fighting me. You'll be fighting Mrs. Gorton if I spend any more time in this chair. But it's been an amazing trip for me. And as you know, I spent about 19 years with Contra Costa County Sheriff's Office, but during that time, I spent 8, maybe 10 years here in the city of San Ramon under the contract as a young, probably 23 or 24-year-old police officer, shiny boots and shiny badge and all that type of stuff, sitting over at 2222 Camino Ramon. No Bishop Ranch buildings, or very few at the time. They were all just fields back then, and wondering what San Ramon was going to be like. And we always used to, first, the officers, and Chief Carlson could probably agree with this. We used to sit there and put, if this place ever went to its own police department, I would jump on board with that in a heartbeat. And here it comes 2006, and what happens is some members on this council were the ones, decision makers, to make that happen. And it's been a great move for the city, and many of us who spent time at the county jumped at the chance to work for the city of San Ramon, and for a lot of reasons that you described. So this has been organizational culture that preceded me, and just is a place where people want to work. And so I felt extremely lucky. And on top of that, who gets to build a police department from scratch? I mean, that's like, not too many people get to do that, and I got to do that. So I came over as the captain under Scott Holder, and it's been a whirlwind, amazing ride ever since. And so as Council Member Perkins alluded to, you're exactly right. You don't think, hey, if I play my cards right as a young police officer, I'll make city manager. That just doesn't ever enter your mind. It's never even there. And actually the council at the time, when they first interviewed me for the job, asked me that very question. They say, hey, this was for the interim. Do you want to be potentially the full-time manager? And I said, well, I literally told them that. I said, I don't know, because I've never actually really considered it. So I could keep the boat afloat. I mean, I've been a police chief. I can keep this thing running till you figure out what you want to do. And I said, you know, and this is quote unquote, I was pretty frank. I'm known to be pretty frank, but I said, look, this will give you a chance to test me out. This will give me a chance to test you out. And at the end of this, it's very possible that you might actually think, hey, you know, Joe Gorton's a pretty good police chief, but he actually sucks as a city manager. And so I'm happy I'm going off into the sunset to at least to the fact that I don't suck as a city manager. So I'm going to take that as a win. The last piece of this is that it was the perfect timing for me to take this job, because foundation's what it's all about. And in reality, you know, I get to take a lot of credit because I'm sitting at the top of the heap. But the reality is, I had department heads when I took this job as the interim and as a city manager. It was thoughtful. And the fact that I had the department heads that I had, and have, was specifically the reason I took the job, because I knew that while I was learning the job, though I knew a lot about police work, I didn't know a whole lot about the other stuff. I knew the department heads did and would have my back, and they did. And I knew we could be successful with a team like that. And I always reference athletic teams, meaning, you know, if you got a team, I always say this, people have heard it probably a bunch. If you have a team full of all Americans, it's really not that bad to be a coach. It's really not that difficult when everyone on your team is an all-American player, right? So though I'd like to take a lot of credit, it's just not realistic. And the product you see in San Ramon is a result of a team effort from them down to the staff members that actually do it. And then you speak of Bob Sachs. He was the interim city attorney at the time, and he handheld me all the way through and was amazing. You know, previous city manager Herb Moniz, I met, you know, in hiding and in secret a couple times just to ask when things got tough, you know, and he gave me some very good, frank advice, and it worked out. It worked out for me. So I'm proud of it. I have to give council credit. This council, I have to give the council that hired me, and even the council that when I was police chief, you know, all the way back since I've been in the city, is the leadership and the vision, which I mean of the council, is it's really critical. Because when you go to these city manager conference, it's a cry fest sometimes, and you listen to some of the stuff they have to go through with council members. It's some crazy stuff out there, and nothing gets done. And so I never voiced it as much, but I always appreciated, even though each of you had separate ideas, separate agendas, separate kind of visions, it all coalesced into one. And the give and take there created in the city an amazing synergy that allowed the things that the community deserves and expects, it allowed those things to go forward. And I would talk to other city managers who were like, we can't get anything done because they're bickering and they're doing this. I'm not going to do that. And it was horrible. So I give a lot of credit to this council. I give a lot of credit to the previous councils, because it really takes everybody working together to accomplish stuff that has to get done in the city. And I can go through a myriad of this is what we did, and we've had so many successes and stuff, but like I say, it's really about, you know, the people that got them done, the folks with the vision, such as yourself. And I think we got a lot done, and I think we got a lot of great things, and we fixed a bunch of infrastructure needed to get fixing, and we could go on. And that's what excites me about this city, is we constantly do that. So I'll leave it with this quote. This is one of my favorite quotes. I'm not disappointed I'm retiring. I probably won't shed a tear. Maybe I will. Friday's my little retirement party. So if my wife's there and she says something soapy, I might drop a tear, but there's no tears tonight. But the people will be missed, because that's what make up everything you see every physical thing that you see out in San Ramon or anywhere was a product of somebody's hands. And so when I look at San Ramon parks and buildings, and this council chamber is a product of somebody's thought and a product of somebody's work, somebody's fingerprints. And so when I look at these things and I look at stuff, the fingerprints, I see the people behind that. And so I know San Ramon's going to be strong and fantastic going forward. My favorite quote is from Teddy Roosevelt. It says, "Far and away, the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at a work worth doing." And that's what I feel my life has been a part of from day one. I don't have to, it's not about punching a time clock. It's just, is it really work for me? It's just that good. And so I thank you all for the kind words. I thank you for really the opportunity to serve this city, both as a police chief and as the city manager, because that's really what it's all about is serving the city and doing what you need to do for the community. And so thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Great job. I'm sure there will be more comments as we get into the tens, but right now there's no action taken on this. So we'll move to the deferred consent items, which there are none. City council appointments, Joe, you can always come back. We'll appoint you to a committee. No. And now let's get on to the unfinished business, which is 9.1, the behavioral health response project update from the San Ramon Valley Fire Protection District and San Ramon Police Department. Understand that Denton's going to have the introductions and he's going to introduce Paige, but if Paige, you're going to jump right in there, go right ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be doing this
Yes.
6 years. That's all. Seems
Oh,
a lot
there we
longer.
go. Yeah, Denton's already have a seat. This will go for a while.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Mayor Hudson, members of the council, thank you for having us here today. I want to start on behalf of the fire district. Congratulations to those that are back. Councilmember Armstrong, Mayor Hudson, and welcome, Councilmember Rubio. We're excited to have you, and we are your fire department. So we're, like I told you earlier, don't hesitate to reach out. I think we understand that we work for this entire community and specifically this council. If it's okay, I'm going to also just introduce a few folks. Our current president, President Michelle Lee, is here with us, and our vice president, Jay Kerr, is here, who's also a resident of the city of San Ramon. So both of them are here. I'd also like to do some introductions, if it's okay. Your representative from the district, Denise Pangilinan, and also our communications director, is here. Jim Sellover, our EMS deputy chief, is here. Lance Maples, who's also an EMS, is here, as well as Jonas Aguiar. And I bring them up because they've been a part of this presentation, and they've been really doing an amazing job to steal what Joe Gorton said. It really is hard work that they're doing behind the scenes.
Let me stop you for a minute.
Yeah.
Paige, why don't you have a seat, then we'll reverse it and then bring
No,
you
he's not
up to
standing.
introduce him.
This is planned out.
Oh, this
Yeah,
plan?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm out. Let me get out of the way.
That's why he stands in the back the whole time. Okay, so. And then also I'd like to also introduce our fire medical director. He's also an emergency room physician, Malcolm Johnson, here, who has been helping as well with this program. So I just wanted to make those introductions. And finally, I think it's important to also introduce Tom Tamura, who's here. And Tom runs the crisis center for Contra Costa County. And can you raise your hand just so, oh, he's way in the back. So he's
They'll
there.
let you sit up front.
Yeah, he's here. And I wanted to do those introductions specifically because as I said, there's a partnership that we're working on. And I'll be brief in my comments. I'll just say from our perspective, and for those of you that have been kind of following the mental health path that we've been on as far as dealing with the challenges that all communities across the United States are dealing with. What we were trying to do and what we've attempted to do is identify patients as patients versus, every mental health emergency becomes a police response. So that was kind of the thought process to take you back And this team has come together and they've looked at data and they've watched what's happened over the last year. And I can tell you in the last 4 years, we've gone from a mental health crisis call every 3 days to we almost hit 500 this last year in a year. So we're going multiple times a day. So this is kind of timely, I guess I'd say. And we wanted to change the way we think about these crises and how we can deal with them. And what you're going to get presented today is the first step in this program, which really, the way we look at it, shrinks the program on the front end. And you're going to hear a little bit about this, but the partnership that we have regarding our primary public safety answering point, 911, that goes to our dispatch center, has allowed us to be more aggressive than I think many communities throughout the state of California and really in the United States. So you'll hear some of that, but I'll turn it over to Chief Carlson because he had a couple of comments from a police perspective that I'd like to have him, give him a chance to comment on.
I think the important thing, as I was standing in the back there thinking about it, and Joe, you mentioned vision. And it really struck me thinking about how this program has come to be, and that a huge amount of credit goes to Chief Myers and everybody on this team who had the vision of how we can change it. We know as police officers, there are situations that we have been responding to for years where we're not necessarily the best people to handle those situations. We realize that. But there was never really an alternative. Everything came through 911 and we're always in the cars driving around. And so we were the ones that responded. And as much training as we can give to our personnel and as great of a person that can be wearing that uniform that responds to a critical incident and a behavioral health crisis, what we have a real issue and problem with is we never know the life experience of the person that we're dealing with. It doesn't matter. The police officer who's wearing the uniform could be the best officer out there. And you all know how highly I think of everyone in the San Ramon Police Department, and we are full of amazing people. But there are times that simply, no matter who the person is, if they show up and that door opens and it's a uniform and a badge and a gun, they're encountering the life experience of the person that's on the other side of that door. And it's difficult to overcome. And just merely the presence of that officer could escalate something and make it a disastrous situation. So the vision that Chief Meyer and their team came up with flipping this idea around and seeing how we can switch the response to really turn it into a medical-based response has just been fantastic, because they took that idea and have been moving forward with it in a way that's just been critical and ensuring that it's going down the best path of success, because it's all about the service of the community. If we can turn these calls from a police response more toward a medical response, we're serving the community in a better way. We're giving them better response, and we're all in this together as first responders to give the community everything that they need. So I think from our perspective as a police department, knowing that flipping this around and taking these ideas and bringing them forward in a way that's going to best serve the community has been a fantastic partnership. So I'm excited about everything they're going to present, because I think you're going to see and hear the first steps to making those real changes to be able to serve the community to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, Paige, before, because I keep thinking she's about ready. Is this RBK's legislation?
I was actually, did we take, do I have
Oh, okay.
$20? Okay,
Yeah.
and I was just about to say that. So we have Marilyn here from RBK's office, Rebecca Bauer-Cahan, who drafted the 988 legislation here. And so what you're going to see, and you'll get more of this from Chief Jonas Aguiar, if you're going to come on up here. He's going to go through the presentation, but a lot of credit goes to Rebecca Bauer-Cahan for pushing this legislation and allowing us to kind of leverage. So one thing that I love about, working with Joe, we'll get to it later, and the county and our staff is we look to leverage what's already in place. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. So if we have opportunity, I think you're going to hear how we've attacked it. I think you'll be impressed. So I'll leave it to Chief Aguiar to kind of take you through it. We may make comments as we move through the presentation. I moved it back for you. Here's your clicker.
Thank you, Chief.
So Chief Aguiar.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor Hudson, Vice Mayor Veros, council members, I couldn't be more excited to be here tonight presenting the next iteration of our behavioral health response to the city of San Ramon. We are proud to show you a plan that we know will have a positive impact on the patient and the care they receive. Not only that, but this plan will also reduce the number of responses that our police, fire, and EMS resources are dispatched to. You might think we are reducing our level of service, but we are actually improving patient outcomes by ensuring that they receive the appropriate level of care. Now, we're going to achieve all of those things by utilizing our partners at the Contra Costa Crisis Center and the warm handoff of patients that meet specific triage guidelines. Before we go too far, though, I want to do a quick recap of how we arrived at this point. The timeline of events represents some of the benchmarks relating to our behavioral health project, as well as with the state and the nation. In mid-2021, the Fire Board, San Ramon Police Department, and City Council all recognize the need to change how we receive, respond to, and transport behavioral health emergencies within our community. This need for change was highlighted by not only what was happening at a local and national level, but also by our own fire and police personnel who led from the ground up and advocated for a better approach to these types of emergencies. At that point, the decision was made to bring in Preston Looper, a behavioral health systems expert, to help facilitate these changes. And immediately, through organizational mapping, it was identified the most impactful thing that we could do for our community was to increase the level of awareness and training for our first responders. This increased level of training would help them to better recognize, de-escalate, and determine destinations for behavioral health emergencies. Pre-training surveys were conducted to determine a baseline, and the Fire District and San Ramon Police Department put all of their responding personnel through the 12-hour mental health generalist training or the 30-hour specialist training. Now, after that training was complete, we saw positive impacts in the field immediately. It was reported to us that law enforcement and fire personnel were working more collaboratively on de-escalation and the transport determinations for patients. Now, let me backtrack very quickly just to touch on the 988 number that's new to us. In 2020, the National Suicide Hotline Designation Act was signed into law, incorporating 988 into a statute as the new Lifeline and Veterans Crisis Line phone number. It took approximately 2 years from the time the law was signed until the number went live across the country on July 16th, 2022. This 988 number provides access to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline nationwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Our local 988 center is the Crisis Center of Contra Costa County, which is in Walnut Creek. Now, in order to roll out the 988 three-digit number in California, as well as to ensure interoperability between 988 and 911, Assemblyperson Rebecca Bauer-Cahan authored the Miles Hall Lifeline and Suicide Prevention Act, which was signed into law by Governor Newsom in September of 2022. Now, according to that law, a developed plan for statewide coordination of 988, 911, and behavioral health crisis services will be in place by June 30th of 2024, and full statewide implementation by January 1st, 2030. Now, understanding the direction of the behavioral health landscape nationally and locally allowed us to develop the warm transfer of behavioral health emergencies to our local 988 center. And as you can tell from my previous bullet points, we're well ahead of schedule. Now, we always knew that the generalist and specialist training wouldn't magically fix the issues. It was a great solution and it was necessary, but it was only bridging the gap until we truly understood the problems facing our community. To properly address those issues, we knew that we had to think outside the box and challenge EMS, police, and health system norms. Our work group was given no hard stops or guardrails, but they really needed principles to help guide their approach when addressing the project components. Any solution that we developed had to positively impact these areas above. Now, are we as a fire and law enforcement agency sending the appropriate response for these types of calls? I think we can all agree that sending an engine, an ambulance, and 1 or 2 police units to a nonviolent 14-year-old experiencing behavioral health issues isn't the most appropriate response. First, it overwhelms the patient and escalates the situation. And second, it reduces first responder resources available in our system. Next, are we improving the patient experience? Keyword here is patient. Patients with behavioral health emergencies, they aren't criminals, and they typically aren't suspects. So why is law enforcement the primary responder to these events? People with behavioral health emergencies are patients. They need to be viewed as such by the community and treated as such by first responders. Lastly, did we improve patient outcomes? Simply put, did we get them the resources that they needed for the problem that they communicated? A perfect example of this is the miner who says that they're upset that their cell phone broke and they just want to die. Once law enforcement hears those or are told those magic words, they have no choice but to act and place a patient on an involuntary hold. 72 hours at a psychiatric emergency services center won't typically improve patient outcomes in this situation, and it'll usually make it worse. So we had to really focus on ensuring our solution got the patient the help that they needed. Now, these principles will continue to guide our development process as we move from our pilot program, which is the warm handoff to 988, to our fire first response, which will be coming later this summer. Hopefully you have a better understanding of how this process started and are gaining some perspective on the thought that went into this project. Next, I'd like to talk about our phase 2 goals. Through organizational and system mapping, we identified the need to improve our triage of behavioral health emergencies at the dispatcher level. Once we identified the need, we created the 3 goals that you see here. Enhance and improve 911 triage. We needed to create and implement systems that allow dispatchers the ability to better direct behavioral health emergencies to appropriate resources without increasing risk to the patient and to first responders. That's critical. We had to transfer appropriate calls to 988. Through the enhancement of our 911 triage, we are now able to more accurately detect behavioral health emergencies and then transfer calls that meet that triage criteria to the 988 receiving center in our county, again, which is the Contra Costa Crisis Center. The last one speaks for itself, but we need to continue to collaborate with other agencies that have aligned goals and work towards improving patient care countywide. This approach works. It's brought us into a great partnership with Tom and the Crisis Center and will continue to help us moving forward. There are a lot of people in this county that want to facilitate change, and the fire district and the San Ramon Police Department are committed to working with them. Now that you've seen the phase 2 goals, let's talk for a second about the different components and steps of this project. The first one we'll address is system mapping. This process of mapping allowed us to better understand our delivery of EMS systems within the county, as well as looking at EMS delivery systems in the region, the state, and the nation. Next was our stakeholder engagement. Now, first, we created a design work group made up of comm center supervisors, San Ramon Valley Fire of all rank, and San Ramon Police Department representatives. This work group was really the brains of the operation and did an amazing job developing phase 2. In total, we attended 104 stakeholder meetings over the last 6 months, 41 internally and 63 externally. This all-encompassing approach allowed us to truly understand the systems and the problems that we had to overcome. Another purpose for all of those meetings was to ensure that we were proposing to do did not conflict with other county programs. We weren't creating something in a vacuum. We had to make sure that it was in line with goals of the county. Some examples of our external stakeholder meetings included the Crisis Center, John Muir Medical Center, the LIMSA, the school districts, Seneca Group, A3 County Health, the Sheriff's Office, and other law enforcement agencies throughout the county. The next thing that we had to do was get our data integration analytics in line. In order to understand if our pilot program was effective, we had to improve our data collection. Through that dashboard, we can now pull real-time data on the behavioral health calls within this city. From February 22nd to the end of December, the city of San Ramon had 476 behavioral health emergencies. This number has grown year over year, but now we're able to get granular in our understanding of the demographics of patients, the time of the call, the day of the week, and the total time on task of our resources. We also recognize the need to share data with San Ramon PD and have since been able to merge the behavioral health data of both agencies into one repository. Next, we had to have legal and regulatory review. As we all know, when creating a pilot program of this nature, we needed to ensure that any policies or procedures didn't conflict with existing laws, regulations, or EMS policies. In order to facilitate that, we hired a third-party law firm that is responsible for legal review. The accreditations of the Communications Center. The work group was in constant collaboration with Communications Director to ensure we adhered to International Academy of Emergency Dispatchers rules and didn't jeopardize accreditation as it relates to emergency medical dispatch. Next, we created the solution, and then we went about implementing it. I'd like to talk for a quick second about some of those operational changes from our Communications Center's perspective. This is an overview of how phase 2 changes operationally impact that center. Previously, our dispatch center didn't emphasize the triage of behavioral health events because there wasn't a good system in place Dispatch had to rely on law enforcement for field-based detection and triage of these types of events. But with the changes we just implemented, the dispatch center now has the tools to prioritize the detection and triage of behavioral health emergencies. And if the patient meets criteria, they will then be transferred through a warm handoff process to the crisis center. Now, this is an infographic we made to highlight the four-step process dispatch will utilize when they receive a behavioral health call in a dispatch center. Step 1, dispatch center receives a call requesting mental health support. Step 2, the dispatcher determines through a series of questioning that there's no threat to self or to others. Step 3, the dispatcher determines no medical emergency or immediate risk of suicide. If the caller meets all of those criteria, the call is transferred to our local 988 receiving center. Now, when I say warm handoff, what I mean to say is that our dispatcher will call the crisis center in Walnut Creek through a direct line only for our dispatch center. Once our dispatcher speaks to a crisis center call taker, they will exchange some basic information and ensure that their call taker is ready and able to receive the call. Once the call is transferred, it still displays on our dispatch console until a call taker from the crisis center calls us back to close it out. Now, this is an extra step that we felt was vital because it ensures a closed loop for the patient from the start of their call to the end. Our dispatchers will be able to know once the caller is finished that there are no other SRV services needed. Now I'd like to talk about some of the benefits to the community. This really gets to the crux of why we are here and why such a priority was placed on this program by the Fire Board of Directors. First and foremost is how this pilot program enhances patient care. Number one, it provides an appropriate level of care to the patient. As an example, if the caller is only asking for counseling support, they can receive that without all of our resources responding to the scene. That wouldn't have been possible previously without a full response by fire and police personnel. Two, it provides timely care to the patient. Patients who meet triage criteria can now be transferred to a 988 call taking specialist who can get them set up with outpatient or counseling resources much faster than otherwise would have been possible. Three, it's less impactful to the patient and their family because it prevents involuntary committals to the county psychiatric facility. And four, it helps in the avoidance of unnecessary escalation of crisis by having so many uniformed personnel responding to their location. I can't stress this point enough, but patients with behavioral health emergencies aren't criminals and they aren't suspects. So why then do we continue to send law enforcement as a primary responder for patients who aren't a threat to themselves or others? By their own statements, they aren't trained or equipped to handle these types of emergencies. So let's not continue to put them or the patient into that situation. There will always be a need for police presence on emergencies with threats of violence to self or others, but that isn't this type of an emergency. Next, I'd like to talk about how the program is a model and it uses local resources. We believe that we've built a framework for other agencies in the county to follow. A large benefit of these warm handoffs going directly to a local call center is that the person in crisis gets connected to a local call taker. That local call taker has a database of all available services within the region. If we didn't do a direct transfer like this, there's the potential that the caller in crisis would get directed to a different call center in the 988 system. It's a great benefit to the citizens of our community, and we are fiercely proud that our Joint Communications Center is capable of this service. Another benefit is the increased collaboration and partnership. Since we started this on day one, we have developed an improved relationship with other agencies within the county. We all know that teamwork and building relationships is what facilitates change. We have identified so many collaborative opportunities through this process that we're finding it easier and easier to improve our system locally and potentially on a county level. These partnerships directly impact the community through meaningful positive change. We have already had other agencies within the county and in surrounding counties inquire about our policies relating to the warm handoff. We're hopeful that the work we have done will allow more police, fire, and EMS agencies to implement these changes and improve behavioral health response countywide. The last community benefit is the improved provider experience and wellness. This one is a huge benefit and I think is understated in a lot of ways. The more we can transfer these calls to the appropriate level of care, whether it's the crisis center or eventually the MCRT teams through the county, the less our personnel are responding to these calls. We all know our fire and law enforcement personnel will respond to and do the very best they can to resolve these situations to the best of their ability. But it's worth noting that law enforcement doesn't have discretion when it comes to how they handle these calls. As we know, if specific words are said by the patient or family, they have a duty to act. We then, as the ambulance provider, have a duty to transport, and there's nothing that we can do to currently change that. However, this crisis center solution allows us to utilize more tools before police, fire, or EMS has to respond. We're always ready to respond and provide any assistance the caller needs. But this new process will also help to minimize the potential for PTSD to our responding personnel as well. It benefits the patients and it benefits our first responders. The implementation of phase 2 is already completed. And in order to do that, we had to formalize our documentation. We had to develop an MOU with the crisis center, as well as develop the policy and triage process that would be utilized by our dispatch center and the crisis center. We had to conduct training. Once we're able to formalize policies and a triage process, the communication director, Denise Pangilinan, and her dispatch supervisors created the training module that would be utilized by her team and the crisis center. Next, we had to do our continuous quality improvement to make sure that we got it right. The communication center already has a very robust CQI program for medical calls. 100% of all critical calls like cardiac arrest receive CQI. And with this pilot program, we're going to do the same. We will conduct start to finish call review on all behavioral health emergencies, including those that don't meet warm handoff criteria. The reason for the enhanced review of all calls is that we need to determine which of them would meet the expanded criteria for our fire first response, also known as phase 3. Let's recap and talk about some next steps. We couldn't be more excited to report that this pilot program started yesterday morning. And I just want to take a second to recognize that that wouldn't be possible if we didn't have our own PSAP and this relationship with San Ramon PD and the city of San Ramon. With that, I also want to take a second to thank the County Board of Supervisors and our supervisor, Candace Anderson, for their support with Measure X funding we have received for this program. That Measure X funding, as well as grant dollars from the California Department of Health Services, has allowed us to create this program utilizing only those funds. Next, I want to talk about the CQI again. This is a 6-month review. It's a 6-month pilot program. We can't be stated enough that each of these calls will receive 100% CQI during the pilot program. We really want to use the next 6 months to ensure this phase is working properly and also to gather more data to determine the best plan for phase 3. As a reminder, phase 3 will change our operations in the field to a fire first response on appropriately triaged behavioral health emergencies. This will be a significant change and one that we must get right. The information that we gathered during the pilot program will allow us to do that. Now, to recap, this plan will improve patient care. It will improve patient outcomes. It will improve provider experience, and it will free up fire, police, EMS, and healthcare resources in our community and the county. This plan will not lower the level of service, but it will enhance it. Thank you for your time tonight in presenting this presentation. Chief Myers, anything like that, or Chief Falls?
I think we just take questions. If you have any questions.
Any clarification? Scott, lead us off.
Yeah.
All right, with the warm handoff, so you call the dispatcher gets the county crisis center online. If somebody actually needs to respond to that patient at wherever their location is, in a parking lot, or in a store or at their home, who does that response?
So that's exactly why we're doing that warm handoff. And I don't know if Denise would like to comment on it, but what will happen is they will be able to stay on the line. So they will know where that patient is. One of the big problems we see with the program is if you don't do a warm handoff and you just hit transfer, that patient's gone.
Mhm.
So this way we would be able to do a warm handoff to the crisis center, stay on the line, make sure that crisis center call taker has the ability to get them the resources they need. If somehow that goes sideways for whatever reason, and they need to go back into the 911 center, it would be us that would respond, depending
So
on what they're asking for.
The county crisis center doesn't have mobile staff to go.
No, they're not mobile, but they can tap into the MCRT team, Seneca, and they have resources that are non-fire and law enforcement. So
Okay.
that's kind of the focus is, can we get that person to the right people that take them out of the 911 system and into that MCRT team, the county team that we currently have, and we can leverage that and or get them other resources that they may need. Is that fair, Denise?
Announce the call, and then they're ready to take the call, we monitor the call, it will stay in our pending queue. So the police department will know that we transferred a call and that we're aware of the location of the caller is. And we'll be checking back with the crisis center within a certain period of time if they haven't contacted us to say no services are available. So we do close the loop on the call completely to the caller.
Did you get all that in there? No? Okay.
But so there are county resources that could respond to this person to give them whatever counseling treatment they need at that moment. Because when people call, they need something now. That's why they called. If they could make an appointment with somebody, they would go and make an appointment with a counselor or something. But they called because they need some kind of urgent response.
Absolutely. And that's where I think the most important delineation I would make is this is an effort in trying to, and Denise can speak to this better than I can, but to EMD, emergency medical dispatch the call, where we ask questions and we decide through that series of questions from a mental health crisis, does this meet criteria to send law enforcement and fire? And so remember, yeah, they're calling sometimes, and I don't know if anybody has kids, ever had teenage kids that, sometimes get upset. But the idea is, can we bring the temperature down and get them, because a lot of people don't know about 988. I mean, we're talking about it like everybody knows about it. I bet if you went to the street right now, you started walking around, I bet 1 in 100 might go, oh yeah, I've heard of that. But our reality is what you said. Most people pick up and they call 911 if their gutter's clogged. Can you believe that?
Yes.
Yeah. So our point is, this is an ability for us to somehow divert and shrink that problem on the front end. We think, and I don't want to say too much, but we think, based on the numbers and the conversations we're having, is we could shrink some of these calls that we would have responded PD or fire to by as much as 25% just off the top of our head. There's a real possibility, and there's some in our team, on our team, I don't necessarily agree with this, but think it could go down as much as 50 to 75%. So you're absolutely right. When people call 911, they want help right now, but sometimes they just don't know about the MCRT team. We're living it, so we take for granted that it happens. But if there's a way that we can somehow vet that properly with, I think, the best dispatchers in the United States, I think we can make things positive. You have anything? You stood up. I'm in trouble. Go
No,
ahead.
they can't.
No.
If you don't speak on the microphone, they don't
Right,
pick it up.
right. No, I think that the chief, you basically said what I was going to say, is that not everyone does call 911 for an emergency. Some people just call to talk. Some people don't know where else to call. So we are going to be doing a lot of media push on 988. We want people to dial 988, but not everybody knows about 988. And sometimes people call and just say, I'm not having a good day, or my son or daughter did take their meds today. What can I do? And but don't necessarily want someone to respond to their house. They just want to talk to someone. So through our call processing, we have it outlined. I wish we would have brought a laminated card. I'm happy to share that with you. We can send that via email later, but to show you the questions that we ask. And if they say yes, then do this. If they say no, then go on to this next question. And when they get to the end, if it meets the criteria, then we do the warm handoff. We announce the call, we transfer it. And if it needs to come back for police services, it can at any time, but we will follow every call all the way to the end. And that's part of our CQI that we'll be doing.
I appreciate particularly the closed loop part of that effort, because if all you hit was transfer,
Oh, yeah.
and then they're often to never land, and you never know what really happened.
Exactly. And we also have built assurances in there through our training that if you transfer and the line is static, you need to, they have so many seconds, they need to stay on the line. They need to make sure the line connected. That's why they will do the announcement. They need to ask the counselor, are you ready to take this call? They have to wait for that acknowledgement. Yes. Then they listen for 5 to 10 seconds to make sure the connection isn't having any technical difficulties. Otherwise, we take the call back. So there will be a lot of care in handing these calls off on the warm handoff. And the dispatchers are not just transferring.
Thank you.
My understanding is with the data analytics, once you build that, it will become much better, right? Because you will be tracking when you receive the call, it will
We'll be
get.
monitoring, we'll be listening to all the audio on each call and determining how we could improve or what we could do differently the next time.
I also saw one of that in the slide that there is no geolocation available, right?
Currently, currently the 988 system, when it was developed, it was, they didn't involve public safety personnel when they developed the 988 services. So they did not do it on the geo verification. They did it on the area code. So if you have a 925 area code, but you're traveling out of state and you dial 988, you'll come back to this area. You won't get local services. So this is why we're partnering with the Contra Costa County Crisis Center in that if people dial 911, we're sending it directly to the Contra Costa County Crisis Center. Our phone is set up to say 911, but our line is going directly to them. We're not sending our citizens in San Ramon somewhere else out in the country. But we are pushing the 988 system because they are working on that. And we're hoping by the end of the year, the state 911 office is stated by hopefully the end of 2023, they might have the geo verification piece fixed. So they are working very closely with the 988 developers to fix this problem.
Fantastic.
Okay. Anything, questions before we go to public? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just had a question. So what would you do? I'm just trying to understand a scenario. Say things seem to be going okay, and then suddenly have a turn of events, right? There's an acute distress. And how long would it take the county services to get to the site?
So I wanted to touch on that quickly, just to make sure that there's a clear understanding from the law enforcement perspective. Anytime a call like this takes place and there is that warm handoff, we will still know about it. We won't necessarily respond, but through the communication center, there will be a call for service that will be generated. That call for service will go on the computers of all the patrol officers in San Ramon. So they are aware that that call came into the dispatch center, the location that's available, and all the information associated with it. And that will stay on the computers for the officers in San Ramon until that call comes back from the crisis center and it's closed out. It'll also be broadcast to the on-duty supervisor. As for those of you who have done ride along before, we have calls that are called beat info, where they broadcast, to the officers, be aware of the beat info in beat 3. This is very similar in that it'll have a specific code related to this type of a call for service, but all the officers in San Ramon will have that location already on their computers ready. If something does escalate and there is a need for immediate response, it'll be much faster because the awareness will already be there.
Okay. And then the only other question I really had is just trying to make sure I understand when you say a warm handoff, like, can you kind of walk me through that, what that actually looks like?
Go ahead, please. We're laughing because we knew this question was going to come up. It's going to be a question. Go ahead.
So the warm handoff is the series of questions that the call taking triage process goes through. And then when the dispatchers have determined that the call meets the criteria to be transferred, they have a script that they go through. And that's the part that we didn't bring the script. I wish we would have brought the script, but they read the script exactly as we have it written out that, hi, I'm with San Ramon Valley 911 and I'm going to be transferring Sally regarding, and then they say the nature of the incident, what's going on with Sally today, just a very brief synopsis of it. And then, are you ready to take the call? And they hand off the call that way. They have to wait for the counselor to identify, yes, I'm ready for the call. Then that's when they listen for the call. That is the warm handoff versus just a hard, cold handoff would be just transfer, someone answers, transferring a call, disconnect. That would just be dropping a call on their call center, but we will be identifying ourselves as to who we are by name and our agency.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the warm handoff is the key, tell you the truth. It's going to be, anyway, this is a pilot program. It's for 6 months. Hopefully we got enough funding to get through 6 months because I think you're going to be around a lot longer. Helen Putnam already went out to the county for what we're doing. Wait till they see this. Any other, go ahead, Mark, and then we'll go open public.
I think the only question I had, as you were going through the triage and you kind of went through that if it's a potential threat to self or to others, you kind of move on. Well, or if it's not a threat to self or others. If it is a potential threat to self, so is this where it's back to the PD showing up?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Okay,
And what we're hoping is when we shrink that problem, we can get to a point. And I think this is the most important thing we say. This is not going to solve all the problems, right? When we have, and we often say, you have folks that are in mental health crisis and they're at high level, schizophrenia, violence. That's not what this program is necessarily going to be able to solve. Those are still going to need police department intervention and possibly 72-hour holds. We're hoping we can shrink the problem and get those folks into a system and get them the treatment that they need so we can avoid these to the best of our ability. So,
okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mitch.
and
Go ahead.
the key last thing I'd say is, and I think it was a point made, but I have to emphasize it. If you call our center and it's within the city of San Ramon, it's not in any other areas of our district, you'll go to our center and this is the service you'll get. If you're outside of the city of San Ramon, Danville doesn't have this option. So it's only for within the city of San Ramon. And the other part is, and we think it's very important that we're getting local resources, because as Denise mentioned and Jonas mentioned, if you call, not everybody has a 925 area code. And in many instances, you could end up in San Joaquin County or Kern County. And so we think the value of having it local is huge for us. So
I agree. Go ahead. Public comment. Everybody ready? Let's open. Thank you very much. Let's open the public comment. Do we have any speakers that wish to speak? And then
I
we'll
do
bring
have
you-
one speaker card from
Okay.
Taiwanese American public speaker.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I want to actually have a disclosure before I start my comment. I'm a Taiwanese American. I don't intend to kill myself. I don't kill other people when I have disagreements. I'm not the one who are like communist China who fly jets into other people's countries to threaten them when they have disagreement. Having said that, I also want to say that as a Taiwanese American, I hold public servants like police officers, as well as fighters with extremely high regard. If I were ever in physical or mental distress, they are the only ones that I trust to handle me. Now, let me go straight to my comment regarding this. 988. Why 8? Because 8 means make a lot of money. It's a continuation of a profit, of money, of something that people want. Why would Assemblywoman Kahan choose this number? And I can say that it's not because, she doesn't really know what number 8 means, because she has an Asian assistant. To me, this is a business. I don't trust Assemblywoman Kahan. Why? She legislates to kill babies, American babies. How can I trust her? I don't trust Governor Newsom either. When we had the lockdown, he immediately gave $1 billion to a communist Chinese factory that makes electric cars to make masks. He cares about me? Next life. No, this is not about taking care of people. This is about them making sure they have a way of controlling and taming political dissidents, such as me. When I speak against politicians, they have to have a way of controlling me that is outside of our democratic rules and laws that are currently established. When I am an American, they can do anything about it. So now they have to pull something like this, that is communist Chinese tricks. Let me ask you this. When I am 988, what do I get? My sales tax money, my money, can now be used to drug me instead of having the police to check what kind of person I am. If I had any, legal backgrounds that qualify me, to go to a 72-hour hold. Why is 72-hour hold bad? Over there, patient has rights. What rights do we have under this?
You need
This
to
is
wrap.
why Demdale doesn't have it. I don't want to be a guinea pig. I don't want this. Thank you.
Okay, any others?
That was the last.
Raise hands, no star nines, close the public comment. Any further comments from the council?
I have one.
Go ahead.
I just want to make clear that 988 is a national program. Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer Cahan did not choose that number. It says 988 has been designated as the new 3-digit dialing code that will route callers to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. While some areas may be currently able to connect to the Lifeline, this dialing code will be available to everyone across the United States, starting July 16, 2022. And so it's not a state thing. It's not a Rebecca Bauer Cahan thing. It's a national thing. That's the only comment I had. And I want to thank the chief and your whole team. You guys are aces. We're great. We're absolutely thrilled. We have a quality team like you guys, and it's just special. I just wish you get that EOC dispatch center. Was it the window? Is it still the window?
Are you still waiting for the out on a ship? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Can't wait for that.
If I could add a couple of comments on this too, I will tell you that, first of all, this is the direction not only the state wants to do, the whole country, as Scott just alluded to. There's a better way of doing something. Put a bunch of people in a room, said, what is that better way? And we've come up with a solution that I think will work. And I think the key is the warm handoff. It's exactly what you're saying. You put somebody on hold. I'll tell you what, I'm already throwing the phone when they say, do you want number one, number two? No, I want to talk. I don't even do it anymore. Just put somebody on. It's my understanding right now, we're just dealing with audio. I'd be very interested as you and we go out to conferences of how we might be able to change that over to video also. And that comes, I don't know if that's 5G or maybe the next thing in 6G. But I really think that might be the difference between the 25% you were talking about or the 50 and 70. Just a thought. I hope there's enough money to do this. I think it's going way past 6 months. I think you've got it figured out. It's the model that we're trying to use in a task force I'm on for accessible transportation, where you're trying to put the right resource with the right problem. That's really what all this is about, instead of sending, and it isn't just the wrong uniform that sends people up. Some people are just set off by who knows, but we're trying to find an answer. And I think you're well on your way to doing it. I think the next Putnam Award will be your program when they see how well it succeeds. And I mean, I wish you all the best, just full speed ahead. I think you're on the right track. I do thank Rebecca Bauer Cahan for staying with us. It was not a slam dunk. Oh, everybody's going to sign this piece of legislation. You had to work on it. You didn't, but I mean, she did, and a lot of others. So I think it's in the right direction now. You've got the ball, run with it. Anything we can do? Am I missing something here? Let us know. And Sridhar?
Yeah, thanks for great presentation and sharing such a valuable information with us. One thing I would say that to make this more successful, because I'm definitely very excited about this program, because this is one of the hottest issue that our community is going through is mental health. And I want definitely to see this to be a successful program. And as Chief mentioned, a lot of people don't know about this program. So we need to figure out how we can share this knowledge with the community, educate them to see how they can use it. If that's the only way, I think we can make this successful. So please let us know, as we will be definitely there to help sharing this information through our social media or through friends. But also we need to figure out how we can make this more aware about this program in the community and get this whole phase 2 done and move forward with our phase 3. Thanks once again.
No, thank you very much. And I'm sorry, but this is going way too mellow. Is this, there's nothing that's going to be brought up about the,
When you're done, we're happy to move forward, but I would say also, absolutely, we do have a message. Chief Carlson and I, with Communications Director Pangelina, are going to make sure that we have a message that's consistent from both the city and the fire district. And it should be noted that is it 24, Chief Aguirre? By 24, every just for the residents, Danville will be doing it, just not as well as we will. They're going to be required to do it by 2024, and by 2030, they're going to have the ability to actually just transfer people. I think it's 2030. Is that right? So we're 18 months ahead of what is expected by this bill. So it's law. So it's going to happen. And Danville has actually approached us to do it. They want us to do it. They just, unfortunately, their dispatch center is not with our dispatch center. So that's the holdup there. Just for clarification.
I guess you don't need to reserve time, Joe. They're being nice to you, I guess.
No. I need to reserve time.
Yeah, oh,
I have time. I mean, if it's okay.
I'll make one comment. I think not only eventually you're going to go to some form of video on this, but I think we're going to actually start talking about, can we keep one of these people from Walnut Creek in the office? That's usually the way it starts. And and then we have somebody permanent. Anyway, you have more. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I mean, if there's no other questions about the 988 and the mental health pilot
No,
program.
we're all waiting. We're waiting
Okay,
for what we know.
Well, I listened to everybody, and great comments, I think, by council members. You very well put Joe's tenure into perspective. And, I had the pleasure of meeting Joe when he was a police chief, young, full head of hair. I mean, he was, I used to put him in a headlock, and, we'd give him no use. Yeah, we used to talk about, his dreams of becoming a city manager. And I told he didn't think he could do it. And I kept telling him, I think you got a chance, man. I didn't think it was possible at the time, but I still told him I believed in him, which I think was the key to his success. But in all seriousness, one of the things we wanted to do for the council, and, sometimes you don't do these exercises enough, just sitting back and looking at what the heck you got done. And I'm on a decade now here as the fire chief. And a majority of that time, the successes that we've had, although, I was with Chief Holder for a minute and he had moved on, but was when Joe took the job as police chief and then eventually city manager. And we thought it would be appropriate, given that, this is your last council meeting, to kind of touch on some of these areas and go through them. And I know you're waiting for the joke. You'll have to hold on a little bit. But we thought it was important to kind of look back at a decade of work that was done through a partnership that I think that Joe and I understood. And to what he said earlier, we would look at problems not from City of San Ramon government, fire department, and we're not the same. We know we're public servants, and we know our job is to elevate each other. And if that means that the residents, that one person gets more credit, we don't care about that. We care that the residents get the best service. And so that was kind of how we worked. And I think, our personalities are somewhat similar in that we like to joke around. And frankly, what I love about Joe Gordon is there's no hill too high to climb. Quite frankly, when we would talk about things, we look at each other and go, that's crazy. And then about a month later, let's do it. And that's kind of how it went at times. And so as I look up here, I just will comment a little bit, and Joe, feel free to comment as you see fit. But I think this council's seen many members. When we went to a primary public safety answering point, and Joe and I looked at each other and we said, hey, can we do this? And I think the charge from the county was like jumped by $500,000. I don't quote me on the number, but we knew that it was in the best interest of our residents from a financial perspective. But really what we focused on was saving lives. So we looked over at our communications director and we said, can you do this? And she said, yeah, I can do it. And I said, we said, well, let's do it then. And amazingly enough, something that takes about 2 years to do, we got done in 10 months, Is that fair? You corrected me the other day, but 10 months, we got it done. And immediately we saw within the first weeks, police officers responding to medical emergencies, doing CPR, giving our residents a chance at the life-saving measures that can be done when you have a partnership. And we saw people's lives change and be saved because now all of a sudden they were getting the calls and they could say, it's right down the block. And that was one of the biggest achievements and the first of its kind, where a fire district and a city would come together to just put together a PSAP like that. Shaved off upwards of 2 to 3 minutes on call time. Speaking of holding on to the phone lines, waiting, people don't want to wait when they call 911. We had to remodel the dispatch center. We had to put together a whole plan, both financial and otherwise. It came together very well. At that point in time, suddenly we're sharing technology, resources, data. We're already starting to move forward in a way that we never thought possible. So those were all great byproducts. We were able to streamline and save the city money on records requests because our dispatchers could take the phone call after a certain time. So we saw savings for the residents there. And we have, you may not know, we have chaplains available when we go to emergencies. We've, in the last few years, combined that so that we both share in that. Probably have the most robust chaplain group that I've ever been around and that I've ever seen. Our mobile communications unit has been utilized for the Super Bowl, for SWAT. Back to the gentleman I think that was here earlier. We actually respond out with PD and the SWAT team with our mobile communications unit. And as we looked at, and I'll just mention this briefly, the COVID vaccine coordination, Joe and I would talk immediately about what needed to happen, whether it was shots in the arms, whether it was Meals on Wheels. We always brought our resources together in those times. And that was just, it was easy. We would just talk and say, okay, here are our people, and we'd be off to the races. And that was huge, as you said, never before seen in our lifetime. The peaceful protest that took place, what a scary time. Yet Joe and Chief Stevens and the PD, we were able to come together and support our community to have their voice heard in a nonviolent protest, and it couldn't have gone better. When you watch on the news, all these terrible things that happened, we were able to come together and actually have a plan that worked. The new public administration safety building, that's a $27 million project. I don't know how he got me to pay for that. But somehow he did. I'm giving you too much credit anyway. But that's a huge, that's gonna last generations now. And you actually have a building that's focused on public safety. When somebody needs something, they can go in that building and get anything they need. And then, as you guys know, if you've been in that building before, you couldn't walk around without, the floors were uneven. If you put a marble on the floor, it would roll to the other side. It was just terrible. People, as a matter of fact, when Joe came out of there, he used to limp. Took him 2 years of walking on flat surface before you quit limping like a cowboy. So huge for the remodel. And now what we'll have in the next 6 months is we're going to have a state-of-the-art EOC, Emergency Operations Center, like you've never seen, a communication center, both in an essential services building that can withstand an 8.0 plus earthquake, which when it happens, because it's going to be when, not if, will be so important to our ability to keep resources and keep sending people where they need to go. When you look at the mental health pilot program that we just went over, not able to be done without Joe helping and working with us. And even most recently, I have to say this, and we love all our partners, Danville, Blackhawk, Tassajara, we love everybody. But when we activated the EOC on New Year's Eve, when people were underwater, who was there? It was always the city of San Ramon there first. You had your public works director, you had, your police department representatives. It was literally within an hour, we were all in that room prioritizing and working to make sure our residents got the safety, got to the shelter they needed, got the resources they needed. It's just the way that things have operated with us since you've been here. And for that, I just can't thank you enough because you've done an amazing job as a police chief. You've done an amazing job as a city manager. I don't really like city managers, so it's amazing that I like you. Typically, those city managers are kind of, good luck to you guys. Okay, good luck on your next search, but they don't come like this very often. But I think most important, Joe, I appreciate our friendship because 10 years of doing all this stuff, this is great accolades, but to your point, it's all these people behind me doing all this work and then we get to, hopefully support them and then just have relationships that last a lifetime. And you look back and it's not about your legacy ever. But if you're a small part of something like this that lasts a long time, I think it's pretty special. So next, we do have some things for you. So if we could have we got a lot of firefighters here because we knew you always wanted to be a firefighter. You told me when you had too many drinks that one.
Yeah, that equals one police officer. You got enough.
But if I could have you guys come up,
Walked into that one.
we do have a proclamation that I'd like to read to you and hand you. And you have to come
Oh,
up
no,
here.
you're not. Oh,
And you have to wear the hat,
I'm not going down.
not like when you were you have to wear the hat. You probably have to stretch that out. So I want to read this to you. I think it's very special. When we think about Joe, you get all these pretty proclamations that you got that pretty proclamation. Ours isn't as pretty, but I think there's more meaning to it. So congratulations on your retirement, Joe. We heard you announced it's your time to go. After 35 years of serving the community, your retirement is a well-deserved opportunity. From deputy sheriff, police captain and chief, your commitment to public service has been nothing but brief. Working your way up to city manager is something to admire. The city of San Ramon has big shoes to fill once you retire. You brought improvements, awards, financial stability, not to mention breaking ground on that joint public safety facility. Your refurbished police station is one to admire, all thanks to that handsome, generous chief over in fire. As you enter retirement, you can admit your confessions and pick up that volunteer job you've been eyeing in fire suppression. But let's stay on track. This is to celebrate you, your success, dedication, and leadership too. Congrats on ending your tenure with Employee of the Year 2022. Is that ethically something that city managers can do? Pack your suits away and bring out the Crocs, decline your Zoom meetings, and turn off the alarm clocks. Enjoy your retirement and moving to life's next phase. We hope it brings you joy and adventures for the rest of your days. Congratulations, my friend. And then I don't really read that often, as you can tell, but pictures are worth 1,000 words. And I'd just like to say, you've got, the one on the top left is the red scissors were way in the background. They're actually bigger than the blue scissors. And then, but that's when we cut ribbon cutting on the primary PSAP. On the right is the public safety building, groundbreaking. And in the middle, I can't really tell you where we were. I don't remember. But we had fun. So, you could tell there's a lot of love here. And then all of a sudden we noticed that we found something here and it really made me feel bad. How do you do this here? Let's see here. I caught Joe.
Yeah, the fire district wants me to do this video, wants me to say some good stuff about our dispatchers. They're great, but I'm telling you, the chief, he's such a pain. The guy's always on my case about stuff, and I don't know when they're gonna get here. I'm gonna help them out, but I gotta go.
I'm so hurt, Joe. I'm so glad I didn't see that until after we wrote this. Anyway, congratulations to you. Yeah, congratulations. Thank you. And then we also, from the district, if that's okay, you have the board of directors, if you don't mind. Sure. You guys have seen this?
Yes, we want to thank you for your service already. It's been well said by the chief, but it's definitely from every person in the area that we appreciate your service and appreciate how well that you've done and the things that you've done for us.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Something for your living. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. I knew you would, bro.
And that's all we have. Thank you so much for
I think
letting us
that's
go
enough.
on and on. We apologize. We'll keep
No,
it
no,
shorter
no,
next time.
that's
Thank you.
what it was, that's what we're doing tonight. Anyway, thank you very much, Chief. And especially for the update, there's no council action needed on that or required, but I think we're gonna be hearing that again. Might have to get you set up for one of these mayor's conference things after 6 months and see how well it's going, because other cities may want to do it also. Anyway, let's move on to 10.1 Government Finance Officer Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. We have an introduction by Kelly Sessions.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. It is my distinct pleasure to present the GFOA Distinguished Budget Presentation Award to the City of San Ramon for fiscal year 22-23. This award represents the highest form of recognition in governmental budgeting. To receive the award, budget documents are rated by independent raters throughout the nation in 4 different categories, and they include 14 different criteria within each of those categories. Let me read a portion of the award letter. It says, Government Finance Officers Association is pleased to announce that City of San Ramon, California has received GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for its budget. The award represents a significant achievement by the entity. It reflects the commitment of the governing body and staff to meet the highest principles of governmental budgeting. In order to receive the budget award, the entity had to satisfy nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation. These guidelines are designed to assess how well an entity's budget serves as 1, a policy document, 2, a financial plan, 3, an operations guide, and 4, a communications device. As you all know, putting the budget together is truly a city-wide effort. All departments participate, so in one sense, this award belongs to the entire city, to everyone here. But in particular, all of this happens under direction of the finance team, led by Finance Manager Candace Daniels and Program Manager Vivian Gong. So we have Finance Analyst Michelle Joe is here to accept this award on behalf of the finance team. I would like to invite Michelle up. Now, we actually have a very beautiful stone plaque that's on the wall.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring it, but it is so valuable, it's nailed down. I couldn't remove it from the wall. We'll get a little gold medallion that will go on that plaque. This is actually the second year that we have received this award. Received it last year for the first time. And with that, congratulations, Michelle and the finance team. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
Thank you. Any questions before any questions before we open public comment? Okay, public comments open. We have any cards?
I do not have any cards for this
Got any
item.
star 9s or raised hands?
We have no hands raised.
Public comment is closed. We'll move on to, thank you very much. I don't want to make that lightly because I've gone through budgets with other organizations I'm on. They don't go this smooth. We don't get medallions. We get, anyway, I'll leave that one alone. Let's move on to 10.2. This is resolution 2023-10 approving the 2023 city liaison appointments to city committees, foundations, liaisons, the whole schmear. Let's take a look before we do let's just look at the appointments first, because I know some of you want to change. Mark, let me start with you.
Well, I'm okay with all what you've got for me. With the one exception, I would like to stay with the infrastructure committee.
Well, I'll leave it
assignment.
up to you.
And-
Sridhar, you want to stay on just one or you want two?
Oh, I'm good with.
Okay.
Marks.
No good. You're moved we are moving Mark Armstrong to, he will stay on finance, but he
Yes.
will also be the second person on infrastructure. So you take Feroz off, you put Armstrong on. Okay, anything else? You're good, Sridhar?
So on DSRSD,
Yes.
that one, I'll be joining instead of like, I'm going to replace Armstrong.
Yes.
Councilmember Armstrong, yeah.
I'm good with that.
Oh, okay. So you go to other agencies, Dublin Santa Ramon Service District.
Yeah.
It is Councilmember Rubio and Burrows. Well, I don't know how I missed that when you sent that in. Okay. Scott?
Yes, the East Bay Regional Communications System Authority appoints all members of that board that represent the cities. And that includes the alternates. So we need to delete Armstrong as the alternate.
And I'll come in and talk to you about that. What probably.
I
would
already
do-
mentioned it to Mark.
Yeah.
It's a
I got it.
mayor's conference appointment, not a city appointment.
When we go down to number 2, it might be all words better than I put it. So is the alternate. It's appointed by, okay.
Yeah.
We got that? Marisol.
I'd like to make a request, if I may, please be the first person for the Housing Advisory Forum. Right, thank you. Would like to make a request, if I may, please be the first person for the Housing Advisory Committee.
Liaison. Yeah, just swap Perkins and Rubio
You're good with that?
on the third one down on the city committees.
Okay.
So Marisol would be the primary and I'd be the alternate.
Okay. You got that? You're just switching the two names, circling around. Okay, everybody good with that, That is, with that?
Yep.
With the echoes. Okay, we're gonna make one recommendation at the end, so we're good with that. On to city council appointments for CCCTA. It's still me. There's a long involvement. Anybody problem with that? Seeing none, let's go on to Tri-Valley Transportation Council. That's Scott first and Sridhar, we're still good. Okay, and the last one is the that's it, isn't it? Southwest Area Transportation. You have to be on that to be on CCTA. And because Danville's, we normally switch Danville and San Ramon every 2 years, but because Newell Arneridge is the mayor's conference, they can't have two people on. So we continue to hold that seat. But for me to continue to hold the seat, I also have to be on SWAT. Okay, no further explanations or whatever. Can I have
I'll move, can we move all four
Yes.
resolutions at the same time?
that's
Mr.
the
Attorney?
recommendation at the bottom.
If you are not changing any of the resolutions, though, the ones that you are not changing can all go together.
Okay.
Anyone that we're making changes on,
Yep, those are
we need to
all
do
good.
separate motions
So we
on.
need 2023-10 as amended.
Yeah, so I move resolution 2310 as amended, 23011, 23012, and 2313.
Cool.
I'll second that.
Somebody put it up there so you can do it.
Yep, mover.
And before the end of the motion, we do have public comment on this item.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Oh, that's right. We need public comment.
Oh,
Before we
okay.
vote. Before we vote. You can move in second, but then
Yeah.
take comments.
Marisol, you can go ahead and second.
You
want
did
me to
second.
wait?
Yeah.
Go ahead and second, because it's all right.
Okay. We're on the committee assignments. Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to, I didn't know, because you didn't say about who are on the finance committee and policy committee. I have concerns from the past observations of the meetings. I really would like to request the mayor to be on the policy committee, because, you know, you are really the leader of our city. You have to be involved in policy. If you are not, oftentimes whatever they approve there are sneaked in council agenda as consent agenda. And then, there's really no other way of vetting because you are extremely experienced. As a citizen, I have high regard for your input. I really would like to see you on the policy committee. For the finance committee, last year, it was Councilmember Verose and Councilmember Zafar. Both are from Doherty Valley. I would like to see finance committee to be a little bit more balanced, one from Doherty, one from the old side of San Ramon. So then, it is not just Doherty Valley making financial decisions for the entire city and vice versa. I'm just looking for equity and, a balanced input from everyone. Obviously, you all have your experiences and expertise. I really would, as a citizen, like to see how to maximize all of your experience and expertise and, especially your wisdom and connections, because you have knowledge about our staff, about past history, that you'll be able to make better recommendations. And finance and policy are extremely important committees, which I would like you to please disclose to the public who are on them. And please respect my request if you can possibly make changes if they're not currently balanced as I had requested. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment.
I'll point out that in the staff report, the committee membership is identified, and when we review items in finance or on policy or in infrastructure, we don't review them from the perspective of where do I live? What's my neighborhood? How do I gain from this? How does my neighborhood gain from this? Or how does my district gain from this? We've always viewed these assignments as an opportunity for us to make improvements and represent the entire city. It's not a what's in it for me or what's in it for my neighborhood. That's not the way we work. And all the assignments are in the staff report on page 142.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded.
And we're waiting for Mark, and I'll just make the comment that I specifically set this up and have told members actually before I was elected mayor why I was doing it. There's a tremendous learning curve. I mean, Marisol's been on a council commission. I'm not sure what it is, but still, from the first day you get on council, it's completely different, and there's a lot to it. And the two people that are on these, not liaisons, but council committees, finance, policy, and infrastructure, are there for a reason. They're there for staff to bounce off the direction they're going with their staff reports and get feedback from the people that are on these committees. Now, they're doing more than that too, but you're also learning. And, I've been on councils where all of a sudden we had tremendous experience, and then where'd they go? I mean, they were just gone. It isn't just elections or people retire. I didn't think Phil alone was ready to retire. I was surprised at Harry. And you need to keep pushing for people to learn what we learned over the last several years. So I intend to do it. The vice mayor will be the chair of finance. It changed on not policy, but infrastructure by request. And it doesn't change to me what is the important part of it. And that is that Marisol will be on infrastructure, likely be on policy next year. The chair of policy, in my opinion, the way I set it up, was the previous chair of finance when they no longer become the vice mayor. You'll be on finance for 2 years because it does help when the next person coming in has somebody that's been there, and finance is that important. We may never have a meeting on policy. We may never have a meeting on infrastructure, but I guarantee you we're going to have a budget as long as we keep getting awards. And it isn't as easy as we've made it look. You don't just receive these awards. And that's the thought behind it. It is for us to learn as well. I had a conversation with Marisol over the weekend with our council members. to me, extended, what do you call it, knowledge or learning or teaching that you get from these conferences, et cetera, is extremely important. I hope that when San Diego puts up positions to get on League of California Cities or East Bay, that people take it serious. Debbie Chamberlain's on one. I've been on 2 or 3 of them. Don't do it anymore. It's, I'm getting too lazy to drive to Sacramento on these darn things. But I thought it was so important that I fought to get Scott on what I think is one of the most important committees for San Ramon, and that's LAFCO. I mean, I wished I had him here 19 years ago. I put him on my, actually 30 by now, but I mean, a lot of thought goes into these things, and I appreciate that people have their feelings on it, and we do ask for input on it. But on this particular one, I was talking about doing this prior to Bill Clarkson becoming mayor. We sat down and I discussed why it's that important. But anyway, if we have a motion, a second, and we've got 5 of 5, it passes. Let's move on to the, well, I can't say the highlight of the evening, but it's fairly darn well appointment, what do you call it? Important. That is 10.3. That's the election of the mayor pro tem for the city of San Ramon. Sridhar Burrows, our longest standing vice mayor. I feel like we've had almost 2 years on this thing now. He will be leaving us in about 5 minutes. But do I turn this over to you? No, we haven't done this in so long. I forgot how to do it. Usually I turn the over to our city clerk but no. All right,
The
forget it.
mayor accepts nominations for the. vice
Okay,
mayor position.
go ahead.
I'd like to make just a kind of a brief history statement to kind of put this all in context. If we go back a few years, I was the vice mayor, and then after my year, it was Sabina became the vice mayor. And then we had the 2020 election, and at that 2020 election, Dave Hudson was supposed to be the next vice mayor, but since he can't be both the vice mayor or the mayor pro tem and the mayor, and Sabina had just been the vice mayor, and we had a vacancy that Mark eventually filled, but wasn't there at that time. I was appointed the vice mayor again, so it was only a 2-year gap with Sabina in the middle, and then after my term, Sridhar took the vice mayor or mayor pro tem. And so while the order has been kind of cockeyed for a little bit, the time has come for Mark Armstrong, and I would like to nominate Mark Armstrong to move to appoint Mark Armstrong as mayor pro tem for the city of San Ramon for the next term, which will expire in, I guess, December, right?
Any other
January
nominations?
24.
Yeah, no,
It's December of 23.
it might be November without an election, but
No,
anyway, it's
in a
normally the
non-election
2nd
year, it's in
November.
December. In an election year, it's in January.
Did we switch it?
No, am I right?
Because it
Christine?
used to be
You are
In
November.
December, it's December in a non-election year, and it's January in an election year.
Yeah.
So you got an extra month, Sridhar. Mark gets
Longest.
squished by a
And
month.
Mark's gonna learn
I-
what I was talking about by everybody. Anyway, go ahead. Any
fine.
other nominations?
I second that.
Okay, can I close the nominations and let, nominations are closed? Go ahead and move and second and all that good stuff, and let's get this to the 15-hour speech that he's about to give.
Yes. Oh, an acceptance speech. Oh, that's true. Yes.
No,
No expectation.
Well, I was
Or a
prepared
consensus.
for my acceptance.
you're cutting into Joe's
Oh,
comments.
my God.
Okay, 4, Marisol doesn't want you. No, she did. Okay, that's 5 out of 5. Congratulations. I'll let you do your speech, but I'll warn you right ahead of time. I was not kidding. The first meeting in February is yours. I will be back at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. So hopefully you've got a lot of practice on that finance and infrastructure and all the other stuff. You will now, because you are now the chair of finance. Go ahead, Mark, the floor is yours.
No speech. Thank you very much, council, for that nomination, and I look forward to this upcoming year. Thank you.
See, 2 years, they learn quick.
Yeah.
City manager comments that we're all waiting for.
My final ones. Though I don't always say a lot of stuff. I'm not going to say a lot of stuff here. There's a couple items that I do want to address. Thank you again for the fire district. I would be remiss, though I don't like to usually give the politicians a whole lot of credit. The whole fire district, between the fire board and the city council, I can't even emphasize enough, and I can't state it enough, how critical it was to accomplish. I was amazed when Paige showed me all the stuff we were able to accomplish in the 10 years,
Yeah.
but that took decision makers to also be on board, and have the vision to move forward. First with the dispatch center, and we had unparalleled success that was very evident for both. And then, which launched us into the public safety facility, which again, you don't realize it because most cities, or a lot of cities, have police and fire. Fire is its own district. So we're partnering with and collaborating with an outside entity, so to speak. So the fact that the dance can be done, it's easy for Paige and I, and we did a bunch of that stuff. But the reality is it took the district board, it took the council to see that vision as well and step up, because both took risks on that, because you're spending a lot of money and not totally sure it's going to work. And so the benefit was there for the community. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to say that both to the board and to the council. Also, along with the fire district's presentation tonight, I do what Mayor Hudson was alluding to, have the Helen Putnam, the League of California Cities Helen Putnam Award for Excellence that San Ramon received, along with the other 19 cities in Contra Costa County and Contra Costa County, for intergovernmental collaboration on the A3 Community Crisis Initiative. And and I'll pass that over to, and you can just pass it. We worked hand in hand with the county, along with the other along with the other cities, to work on that. And so there is a regional effort taking place that has Measure X funding, ongoing funding, that it will integrate, as Chief Myers talked about, with the local initiative well. So there's kind of a overlapping, not a redundancy, but a support mechanism for each of these that I'm excited. Chief Carlson has been part of that. It's the heavy lifting was done by Contra Costa County. There's a response group from all the way from a sworn response down to a response with just clinicians on it. So it's very comprehensive, and that collaboration with our local efforts will be, I think, once everything gets up and running. They're also in the phases as well. Once everything gets up and running, I think it will be a model, if not statewide, nationwide, easily with what's going on here. I mean, it's the most comprehensive response in mental health and the mental health space that I've ever seen in my career when you add the two together. And part of the problem with the county was, you got to get there, you got to deal with it. And then how do you deal with the triage on the phone? And Chief Meyer and his team and the police department solved that problem. And so as the same old thing was, hey, we got to fix this. How? I'm not sure. Let's figure it out. And then these two things came together. So I'm very excited about both of these. And I believe that ultimately, when all is said and done, they're going to be amazing services for the residents. With that said, just one announcement that Gov 101 is coming up in February. So if you have not taken Gov 101, that's a kind of a comprehensive look into the city and the city operations. It's 8 weeks. It's an 8-week course, and it's free, and citizens can sign up for it. So I would recommend the citizens do so. And with that said, as they say in the police world, I will be 10-10 shortly.
10-10 or tan. Okay. Marisol, you want to lead us off? No pressure. We can go to Mark.
Wait, I'll let Mark start.
That's where I'm going with this. We don't cut a lot of slack here. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I'll start off with just thanking the staff and the fire district, police department, public works, parks, just the entire staff, city manager for all the events that took place, response events that took place on New Year's Eve. It was an incredible show of response. And I went down there that evening down in the Ferd Crest area, saw where the flooding had taken place, and it was, or it was flowing down Ferd Crest, overtopped Al Costa, damaged the road there, the whole golf course area. They'd evacuated the residents out of the condominiums down there at the bottom of the hill, and some of those houses down there got flooded out in their garages as well. But an amazing job, and just want to thank all the staff and all those who participated in the kind of the evacuation of those residents over to the senior center, opening up the senior center temporarily, and just an incredible job. And they continue as these storms keep pounding us with the response and recovery efforts. So, and all the preparation, keeping things cleaned up and taking down or moving down trees and all that, and responding to different calls for service. So thank you very much for all the staff. And I'm sure I missed somebody there. Yesterday, I attended the Open Space Advisory Committee meeting. They selected a new chair. That's Bob Peoples, new vice chair, Henry Perez Alonso. That's only for a 6-month period or so because Lorraine Kalick stepped down, and then they'll go through a normal annual or a permanent selection at a later date. They also talked about an outreach event coming up on March 11th, and that will be there'll be a presentation of about 75 photos of open space taken by Stephen Joseph. He's a renowned photographer, does great work. There's also going to be a discussion at that event on open space, and it's almost like as if you'd been on one of their open space advisory committee sponsored hikes, the kind of information that they give at those hikes. And yet some people aren't able to go on those hikes. So this will be an opportunity for people to actually get that information, learn a little bit about the committee, see those beautiful photos and all the beautiful open space of San Ramon, not just, the west side hills or the east side hills, but our center hills and things like that. They had another discussion, or they had a discussion on urban open space. And again, that's beyond the normal expanses that we see in our hills, the big expanses. They're going to look at doing an inventory of all the little small pockets of green space throughout the city, try to map that out. And then at some point, I think they may even be coming back to council to see, what do you want to do with that information? Or, how is this information going to be of value to the city going forward? I also attended yesterday the Senior Foundation meeting. The Senior Foundation funds a lot of our programs over and some maintenance over at the Senior Center. If you haven't seen it, they've got a new Encore newsletter out now. That's for the kind of the over 55 community. A lot of good information there. A lot of different activities in addition to their regular activities of, the drop-ins and the bingos and games and health and fitness and lunch bunch trips and things like that. There's some information there about some tax prep opportunity coming up, the spring fashion show and tea on the 1st of April. There's going to be 2 morning mixers coming up to try to get people out to the senior center and learn about the programs that are offered there. One of those is on the 26th of January. The other's on the 23rd of March. They announced a couple of the senior tech days. These are days when the teen council will go and help out over at the senior center with some of the seniors learning about technology and just connecting with teens. So those dates are the 21st of February and the 17th of March. And there's a lunch with law enforcement date they announced on the 8th of March. And the president of the foundation made kind of a plea for everybody to try to put the word out about new foundation members. They need some new members. In particular, they need a new treasurer. So somebody with experience with QuickBooks or other budgeting software and experience. They would love to have some new foundation committee members. So, and that's the end of my report.
Sridhar, you're no longer vice mayor.
I'm free now. Happy New Year, everyone. I wish congratulations, Vice Mayor Armstrong. It's been a great honor and privilege to represent this esteemed council as vice mayor. It's such a fantastic council, and also the staff. Anytime when I needed their help and support, they were always there for me. And some major highlights as a vice mayor is you'll get to attend a lot of ribbon cuttings. So please prepare ready for those. And fortunately, I had opportunity to attend our flag off for San Ramon Valley Education Foundation run and also San Ramon Chamber of Commerce award ceremony. I had a chance to represent our council there. Also, by the way, keep always a speech note with you. If Mayor Hudson misses the meeting, you should be ready for your pinch hit speech that I had to do during the Memorial Day.
Wait a minute. I didn't miss the meeting. I went to the wrong place. I went where it was held every year for 20 years and they threw it somewhere else.
In all fairness, thank you, Mayor, for giving me the opportunity. I enjoyed all those events that I could able to attend and able to represent our council. So that's on the vice mayor. So, and about the community side, we have MLK Day event by San Ramon Diversity Coalition on Monday. Please join us. It's an open mic event. You can join and you can take a minute to reflect what it means for you, MLK Day. So that's in our City Hall, Rotunda, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And also, once again, like as Council Member Armstrong mentioned, that I would like to thank all our first responder for helping with the storm, especially our San Ramon City residents. Whenever they text me, thank you, Chief Carlson, for immediately responding to those text messages, because when I received some of those messages that we are not getting response and all those kind of comments, I know that there is no way our San Ramon is behind in handling this situation. So thanks for confirming that they are not from our San Ramon. So those comments are from other side out of our city. I really appreciate our staff for taking care of our residents when they need the most. Thank you very much. And also all the festival events that you conducted throughout the holiday season. It's amazing, fantastic. So that's what makes our community it's like vibrant and feel that they all belong to one of the best community in entire California. So thanks for making that happen here. Once again, Happy New Year 2023.
Thank you. Councilmember Perkins?
Yeah, I would just want to congratulate former Vice Mayor Sridhar Varos. I think you did a fabulous job. You showed up to a ton of things. It really is. It really can be a lot of fun, but it can also it kind of tends to be a burden at a moment after you go, another one, yes, another one. But thank you very much for doing all that. Second thing is I wanted to thank the Fire District Board and the Fire District staff, but the Fire District Board, the things that we've accomplished over the last dozen years come because there's a level of trust between the two boards. If one board thought they were being taken advantage of, and it was always coming out wrong on their side, this wouldn't work. And so we try not to do really fine-tooth comb accounting on everything, because we're serving the citizens of the area. And whether that is whoever is seems to be giving more than the other, it doesn't really matter so long as we're serving the citizens. And I want to thank the board for trusting the council, and we trust you. And we want to thank the fire district and its staff for all the wonderful things they've done. And I know, Chief, you guys were probably thrilled to get that Bearcat out and actually crank it up and see it runs. But thank you all for the response you gave to the citizens of San Ramon. And I got calls from some people that said, the fire district came out and they cleaned out something and they allowed the water to get out from around my house, or they cleaned out a V ditch, or they helped with something else. And I know that there are times when you just as soon sit in that chair and watch that football game. But you know what? There's work to be done sometimes, and it doesn't always happen at the most convenient time. And I want to thank you all for all the work you guys did, both in PD and the fire district in response. So thank you very much. One of my favorite quotes from Bill Clarkson, and he was always talked about, you have to make friends before you need friends. And so by having relationships, when you make that phone call and you say, we need help, they go, who are you? You don't have that. We have, yeah, I'll be right there. And that's really important. And you guys do a fabulous job. Thank you all.
Thank you, Marisol. And it's okay to say no report. I mean, Joe does it all the time.
Yeah.
I feel I would like to take a moment to at least definitely, I want to say thank you to our first responders. I grew up in a neighborhood that was very much a residence for first responders. I had a sheriff who lived next door to me. So there you go. And fire chief who was just 3 doors down. So very much grew up in that environment and saw really firsthand some of my friends, their parents were working in these fields. So I know that you make it look really easy, but I know it's not. And that behavioral response presentation that you gave today I know took you a lot of hours to put together. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate you taking the initiative to really be leaders on this front and really almost pilot this program. And I know it's going to be something that, is going to be an evolving program. So, and we're just very lucky to have you guys leading on that front. Thank you. I also, of course, want to congratulate, first, I want to say thank you to our outgoing Vice Mayor Veros. Thank you so much for your service. I definitely have seen how dedicated you've been over the past year and working overtime. So thank you for your service. And our new Vice Mayor, thank you. Congratulations. I look forward to all the wonderful things that you're going to bring forward here for our council. And last but not least, I just want to say again, thank you so much for your service to our outgoing city manager, Joe Gordon. Thank you that your service is right here. Everything, this is the fruits of your work. And I am going to give an early congratulations coming in for our incoming city manager, yes, which we're excited about, for Steven Spadowski. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen, for stepping up. Appreciate it.
And see if I can, and obviously Sridhar is great here. I'm going, what the heck happened? I went to the wrong place and I was talking to this guy for like 40 minutes, a brief conversation for me, until I realized I was about 30 minutes late. But, that's the kind of stuff that happens. Sridhar just stepped right up. I know he had at least one meeting you had to fill in for me. I'm sure that was a lot of fun. You can tell Mark about that one. I really think the job that that December 31st work ethic that we put out. I mean, I've had people tell me, no, we had sandbags. I've had people from other cities. Why aren't you giving us sand? I'm not giving them any sandbags. I think you were way too nice, Maria. And I think the job's not finished yet. We were talking about, I don't know how in the heck we're going to get that power pole out of that revetment. I mean, somehow a power pole or a telephone pole perfectly came down the creek along with trees and wedged itself in the revetment right there before you go underneath Alcosta. And I thought you'd placed it there, but somehow it's there. We got to get it out. And to the people that think that the response wasn't that good, go to Capitola. All those restaurants you used to eat at, they're gone. Yeah, I mean, that must have been a lot of fun. On a more positive note, the mayor's conference found some dummy to be chair. So I've already appointed, yes. In April, I'm trying to get advanced mobility here. That's be very interesting meeting. May will be in San Ramon. The April meeting's in Concord. May is in San Ramon, and I'm going to try and get Valley Link here. And then we get it again in December. So I'm not sure how to arrange that thing. We'll put it before Steve and a bunch of trees, and you can pick the chestnuts off the tree or something like that and eat them. But probably the biggest thing, and it'll be very interesting to see where this goes. We are doing a lot of changing over on executive directors and city managers, et cetera. I mean, CCTA, we just replaced Iwasaki 3 years ago. I didn't think I'd ever have to do anything for the rest of the time I'm on council. Well, 3 CTA, we had a new general manager this year. Bay Area Air Quality Management District, we just went through a 6-7 month process and finished it in December. San Ramon interim, we did tonight. MTC, I'm going to the meeting Thursday. We're probably going to whittle it down to 2 different prospects, and San Ramon's going out with an RFP to see who's out there and wants to come along. What might be the most challenging is these regional committees get very political, and our representative to MTC cannot represent us because she's no longer elected. So we're going to try and see if there's anything in MTC's bylaws that allows the chairman of the board of the mayor's conference to vote until we select a new representative at probably the February 1st meeting. But yeah, these things, they get in the news too. So we'll see how that turns out. It may be that we may want to take the chair of the mayor's conference every year. But in any case, that's it. It's been an exciting year and it's not done yet. We're starting on January for the next year. And I really thank all of you because I think it was not as easy as we made it look. And special kudos to Joe for the thing that nobody has mentioned yet. And we have been trying to put a bridge over Bollinger Canyon Road for 30 years, at least, going back to the Dillon era. And next month, we're going to start it. And I think it's something we can be very proud of. Enough comments. We have any speakers that want to speak to comments?
I have no comment cards for
Okay.
this item.
Anybody, let's open public comment then. Any speakers that haven't spoken earlier?
No.
Any no raised hands, no star nines? We are adjourned for the next meeting on